Okay, are we good? I think we're good. We're good. Okay. Hello. This is the official Divine Machinery YouTube channel. I know, it's very fancy, very official. I've been making accounts for pretty much every social media site, so this is kind of a gotta do this. Because when I'm famous, you're gonna see like video archives from this channel. You'll be like, oh wow, look at this. It was so long ago. Look how cool he was. Anyway, so I'm planning, sorry, on kind of just going through what I have for my outline and kind of explaining what's here, what I'm doing and everything. Just kind of a step by step. Now, if this was logical, I would start with book 1, but this is book 4, and I really don't have to go over like 3 other books before I can actually do this, I kind of just want to do what I feel like doing right now, which might be selfish, but who isn't selfish, you know what I mean? Anyway. So, Crusaders arc, or Heaven's Core arc. The Crusaders arc is kind of the larger arc for Mikurami and Agent Forseti, but this one is the Heaven's Core. I should probably rename it eventually, but it makes sense. Anyway, this is the Heaven's Core arc, which is set in Mikurami, a theocratic church state, which is run by the Holy Vicar, who is Cain from the Bible. I mean, it's a very theological book, right? It runs off of Christian religion, like Christian stuff, Christian theology. You get the point, okay? We understand. Anyway, characters main, obviously this is kind of old. I need to update this. There's like 15 more people who got to go under here. But these are kind of the main zone. You got Peter, obviously, he's technically the main character. He's kind of not as present here because, whatchamacallit, he's the bladed angel now. So the point is he's more this, like, ethereal force of nature. He's less a human being right now, It's him not being here is technically part of his arc. I think it's interesting. I think it's cool. I think I've done a good job moving the stage away from him, Then we have factions here, of course. The Union, the Zelor, we got the Saints Ministry with Delvis, all those guys. We got Native. This is book 5. Book 5 is going to be Roko and Forseti and, the Union homeland. Right now we're foreign. We're going over foreign relations, foreign duties, foreign worlds, We're different. We're moving. But, of course, we're going to go back. There's a lot of stuff going into it. It's not like the Union is gone from book 4. It's definitely still here. The Mikurami side, this is all like old stuff. This is what I wrote before everything came after. Obviously, I mean, it's a document in chronological order. Chronological order. I'm going to be honest, I did kind of move away from this because this is before I kind of made the huge, big cast and everything. The idea was going to be Delvis was our new main character. We're going to kind of see the story through his eyes now instead of Peter's, since we're moving away from Peter for a little bit. But I did kind of go back on that. It's more of a split. It's not like an anthology series, but it's like split up. So there's like a lot of different characters with a lot of different functions and arcs. It's definitely the biggest and most difficult project I've done so far, which is a good sign, because if you're not challenging yourself, then you probably aren't going to be doing something super good, We'll have a much behavior focus on political theory. Yeah, this is all pretty much the same. Will be more plays Devil's the Wolf Guy main character. Kind of moved on from that a little bit. As for Elias is in the Chinese Communist Party homeland. He's in China right now. His part of the book is kind of destabilizing that, because behind the Union, the CCP is the biggest world power. So he's kind of busy doing that. That's all book 6 stuff. It's more book 6 setup. Elias really isn't here that much. He shows up like a handful of times, at the beginning and then at the end, when all the big stuff starts happening. Over time, more. This is kind of still into it, but it's not as extreme as it is here. I haven't really gone all the way with Delvis like that, I don't want to just completely deconstruct his character, because I do, you know how it is. For study side of this arc is in the Union Falls, he and Allie. This is all really normal. I can't say anything else about this because I haven't gone on to book 5 yet. So this is all subject to change, obviously, and that is how the process works. Same as this is very different from what I'm doing right now. This could be very different from what I do in the future. But I do like some of the ideas here. Obviously, the main thing is Forseti is destroying Native. He's going after Roko. He's trying to find a way to basically challenge Peter. He wants to get to a level where he can overpower Peter. Because without Peter, Roko kind of doesn't have his tools. And without Native, he doesn't have his tools. So if he can get rid of Native and get rid of Peter, then it doesn't really matter how smart Roko is, because all his tools are gone, Like, the king relies on the other chess pieces, So without his pieces, he's just sitting there. He can't really do a whole lot without, getting in trouble. But nobody really knows Roko's full capabilities right now. Everyone just kind of thinks he's a very smart, immortal guy. They don't know. He's like crazy. We to reach Forza Stargate. Yep. Splitter. This is all still going ahead when I do it. I like the Carter part of this. Carter, for the first book and the third book, he was kind of... We don't really know that much about him. He's kind of there. We see he's nervous. He's fidgety. He's got some mental issues, for sure. And then, obviously, in book 3, you have him popping Jeff, popping Allie, popping Forseti, So here we get to kind of see behind the curtain, like, is he an oil spiller? Why is he a Native? What happened to him? Why is he doing this? Why was he crying and being all crazy in book 2 and book 3, Or more book 2, not book 3. But you get the point. Look at the unit's defenses. This is all kind of more metaphysical stuff, They're going to have the big fight, and it kind of destabilizes the soul space and the equilibrium as a whole, causing Peter to kind of get a big power boost, and for Iscariot to get a big power boost, because the realms, they're kind of mushing into each other. So obviously, if you're powered by a battery, and the battery gets closer to you, then you get... it's a bad analogy, but it's closer to you, and you get stronger. It's farther apart from you, and you get weaker, which is also how the very end of it works. When he opens heaven, he can draw upon his heavenly fragment, which kind of pushes him, all the way to the top. Structure Mikurami government. The theocracy with branching beliefs across the royal bloodlines, which were first appointed during the Mikurami's founding 3 inches west Mount Zion. Yep, this is all kind of lore. I don't think I really set this specific lore up in the other books. This is more unique to this book lore. But Mikurami, of course, was mentioned in book 2. There's kind of a little bit more play considering Mikurami in book 3, at the end of it. They kind of start talking about it a little bit more. But now, look, if I just tell you everything before I show it, then it's not going to be as interesting. So you got to kind of save certain things for certain entries, which is what I've done here. Mikurami's this whole new setting, It's book 3. We've been in the Union for a while. We understand what's going on. We get it. We know the flow. So now we're kind of moving apart. It's kind of not a culture shock, but we're changing things up. We got some new content, new vibes, which is very important. You don't want your stuff to get stale. Book 5 is definitely going to be more of a challenge for that aspect, since it's in the Union. But of course, there will be some setting changes, hopefully. We figure out spiritual insights effort at once, created the Shepherd's Order. The Shepherds, I'm kind of doing a little bit of work with these guys. I don't think they're going to be as strict as I made them sound here. Right? But they're still here. They're still here, obviously. They're more like kind of secretaries. Not secretaries, but they follow people around. They're still important figures. This is technically still canon, I suppose. It doesn't really contradict anything so far. But they aren't, like, super duper everywhere, like it sounds here. Well, the families themselves may not have the authority to change their duties. They can request a hearing until one. Heavenly Court. Heavenly Court, yep, this is all playing into it. Heaven's Court arc, Heavenly Court, right? We got about 8 chapters. Yeah, about 8 chapters of establishing the setting and setup and character exploration before the Heaven's Court actually begins. Right? It's good to build it up. We got to get a good feel with what's going on before we delve into the nitty-gritty political stuff more. Like, we're already doing that, but we're going to do it more. So we gotta make it emotionally appealing before we can get into that. Shepherds will select members of their families. Heavenly Court process often leads to very high tension between the families, with their being even assassinated, becoming a common factor within them. Yep. These were given by the Holy Vicar himself, known as the Empathetic Accords. I low-key forgot about these. I forgot the name. I understand the rules. You can't kill, you can't hurt people. They can't know you're being hurt. If a member of one of the families is to break any of the accords, yep. Now Most of this is kind of mentally in my brain already. I'm kind of just refreshing. The Maganov family, head of the National Security Defense Book Cleansing. I don't know why this is still in here. This is AI. I forgot when I put this in here. Nothing else is AI, okay? I swear on my mother's life, this is the only piece of AI content in this whole thing. I should delete this. Okay. Death of Vitosia. So the Maganov family, they're kind of stern. They're doing the eugenic stuff. They're doing eugenics. They're kind of controlling the bloodline. They want to produce the most efficient, intelligent, and worthwhile offspring they can in order to preserve their family and their supremacy, right? Security intelligence. The big thing for the Maganov family is the death of Vitosia. Once she finds Valentinus's bastard, infidel son, and she's kind of breaking down, and she ends up dead in the process. I like it. It was the first kind of arc within the bigger arc that I came up with. So I think it's good. It works. I like it. There hasn't been a whole lot of focus on the Maganovs so far. It's kind of been more on the Verwandlers and setting up, the opposition, the bad guys, I guess you could say, which would be the Farmanis, the Albrechts, and the Aarons. But, we've kind of established them decently so far. So, as this goes on, we are going to probably move a little more into Miriam and Valentinus and Gun. Next is the son of Sun for Valentinus. Yep. You can read it all here. I don't really want to explain everything here. I do kind of want to get to the actual chapter outline stuff. This background lore information. Very important. Contessa is the wife of Valentinus, and she found herself drawn in an agreement with 47 million. Had two parents given their few armors. Yep. Just the bond with his daughter, but the is meddling in her current. I don't think I need to explain all the arcs for the families before going into the outline, because it all plays out. Like, all your questions kind of get answered later. So, this information doesn't matter a whole lot, but you gotta know the Maganovs, eugenics, very strict. Valentinus has no control over his life. He wants to get away. He doesn't love living the bureaucratic life. That's the kind of TLDR for him. The Verwandlers, very big family that controls social and educational programs, giving them the most theoretical influence and control over Mikurami, but because of their splintered state, which is due to multiple heaven court callings and a long history of family feuds, they have kind of found themselves in a spot where they are not very effective at their jobs, meaning that they are kind of split. They are not unified in like one policy, which is why they're, they don't really control everything like you would think they could, but they're not, because they're all split up and they're all going off of their own issues, which is where Gun comes in. He's kind of our perspective for the Verwandler family, where you get to see his kind of fall, not his fall really. We see the issues, we see his perspective. He's like, his parents are kind of weird. He's got a nice uncle, he's got a heretic uncle or a heretic grandpa. You get the point, okay? And it's a big family. I don't want to spoil everything.
Hey, sorry, do you need to be alone in
here? Well, I'd prefer to.
Okay, well, for how long? I don't care, but you didn't tell me you were coming in here. And I know it's your computer, but I just want to know so I'll stay out.
20 minutes.
Okay, tell me when you're done. I just need to put this for Rusty.
For my family.
Isaiah's on the computer recording stuff.
Farmani family. The Farmani family is Kian's family. Kian is really the focal character here. Armin is not really as important, because Kian is our kind of big ideological pin here. He's the ideological pin, I guess that's the correct term. He's kind of crazy. His ideology is a little crazy. I like his backstory. I like his arc. I like his arc a lot. I like the Maganov arc, and I like Gun's arc a lot. I think all the families have pretty good arcs. The weakest would probably be the Albrechts, just because Miriam hasn't had a whole lot of time to shine yet. I'll move more to her side soon. And then the Aarons, they don't really have like a big arc for them. They're kind of more this. It makes sense, okay? You'll see. The Farmani family, the Albrecht family, this is Miriam. They disagree on economic issues, larger social issues. Dietrich is the head. He's kind of more isolationist. He's trying to push for Mikurami to become an independent state that does not rely on union or foreign aid, or foreign materials, right? He wants to be independent. He's trying to cut off, kind of nationalist in a way, but also isolationist. He kind of wants to go isolationist and then go nationalist. It's kind of some logical pipeline. Aaron family, charge of R&D. These are the weird tech junkies, tech junkie guys. Divine heresy, divine, whatchamacallit. Like the, why am I blanking on Warhammer lore right now? The Adeptus Mechanicus. They're kind of the Adeptus Mechanicus family. 5 major families. Boom, there's more families, obviously, but these are the major families. These are the big ones that, have acting roles. Gun, main characters. This is still pretty solid. Then I guess you could probably add Delvis in here. But yeah, this is Arc Information, Gun, Vitosia, Valentinus, Kian, and Miriam. End of setup information. Okay, yeah, this kind of got changed, obviously. The thing with outlines is you start with an idea, and then as you go along with that original idea, you kind of see where you could change it and where it kind of weakens and where you kind of aren't really feeling it, I wasn't feeling most of this, which is why I pushed a lot of the stuff you see here all the way down to chapter 4, I believe. Chapter 4. Okay, now we can actually get into it. Chapter 1. Gun and Vitosia are running through the streets of Mikurami. We can look over the mountains to the sky. Made up almost word to find monolithic towers that cut and split like that. So here, the idea is we're establishing the 2 young characters. These are kind of the big focal characters. They both obviously have very important arcs for the book. So we're starting off with them. We don't want to start with Peter and Delvis like I originally planned, because we're kind of trying to move away. We're trying to set a new scene, new characters, new feel, like I said earlier, which is why we begin with Gun and Vitosia. And it's more of a grounded chapter. We see the child perspective, and we also get, kind of a good feel for what Mikurami is like, the architecture, the look of it, kind of the government system in a way, through, childish dialogue and setting details. It's an outline, obviously, so I don't go paragraphs and paragraphs into the details like I will in the actual book. Some towers bridge to others. There's more architecture. I wanted to have a unique architectural identity. So it's kind of ancient, big Drang Lake towers, it's pretty self-explanatory if you've ever played Dark Souls 2, ever looked at some Dark Souls artwork. I do like Dark Souls a lot. Got some very good vibes. I'm a vibe guy. I love vibes. The streets are wide. The sidewalks fresh. Yep, I already have it in my head. It's kind of blue, cloudy skies. A lot of white. Everything is white. Most of the stuff is white. We see crosses. We see family kind of advertisements, family programs, which is our first introduction, right, to the families right here. Some simple outline illustrations. As everyone's taking to know how empty the streets are. This is explained when Gun asks Vitosia. Here we kind of see the strict surveillance state aspect of Mikurami, which we also see earlier with Gun being kind of nervous when the cameras are recording him, right? It's not 1984 or anything, but it's definitely not modern Michigan either. We see there's a big event going on. We hear, there's a diplomat. It's from the Saint Ministry. And we're like, we know the Saints Ministry because Book 3, the Saints Ministry Purge, we got Peter evolving into the Bladed Angel. We already kind of understand what's going on here, but we don't look at it yet. We're still sticking with them. We're still trying to get a general understanding of the environment, the characters, right? Which is in the dialogue too, right? We got some, cute, quippy dialogue, and I want to do this, I want to do this. We kind of see some of the underlying conflicts within them as well. I did not embolden most of these letters. I kind of didn't pick the habit up yet. Anyway, we're going to run through a keep trail from the main roads. If it doesn't belong to our families, easily the greatest of them all. Here is where we kind of get our first introduction to the Maganovs, what the Maganov family is like, or at least what they have Vitosia act like, how they influence her. This is how she thinks because of them. Excluding her father, right? We already see the disconnect from Valentinus early on. It's not a physical appearance, but we understand what's going on a little bit. God tries to correct and argue. We already see Gun's kind of more moralistic nature. He's trying to kind of be the good guy. He doesn't want to get super angry at anyone or, oh, I hate you. He's not a hate guy. He's more of a let's get along guy. His gun, his family is easily the biggest mess. Here we also get kind of a little hint at the Verwandler family conflict. Start doing their jobs, right? She tells Gunn that he and her dad are both a bunch of selfish men. We get more of her internal conflict here, her kind of struggles with her father and male figures in general. Gunn annoys that he's selfish. We do see Gunn does stand up for himself. He's not just a blank board. I don't want him to be a boring character. He's not a boring character. He might seem a little reactionary at first, but obviously that does change over time with this character. Oops. Now, interrupts her trying to dismantle her point. She's just trying to look out for her. We also see his connection to Vitosia. I'm not sure if I would fully state it here, but we can see he definitely cares about her, right? She does kind of joke about the more romantic aspect. I never really was leaning towards a romantic relationship. I was more leaning towards, I guess, kind of platonic, cousinly affection, I guess you could call it. It wasn't really romantic, right? But she understands kind of the norms of the society, so she's kind of just spewing them out. That's what she thinks is going on, Gunn, he's not as into it, right? He's not super into this crazy, strict, religious family stuff like she is. They're high above the park below them. We got kind of a nice view, a nice little set piece, you could say. Big horizon. We see how big the city is. It's very vast. It feels nice. It looks nice, but obviously it's not as nice as it looks. The glowing sky. Here we can also see some of Vitosia's. A lot of this is Vitosia centered, just because she doesn't get a whole lot of page time for the chapters I've written so far. So I guess it is pretty important to kind of establish a lot more of who she is in the first chapter compared to Gunn, given the fact that Gunn has, definitely a lot more chapters than she does at this point. Yeah, here we kind of see her own childish dreams, kind of a connection, a relation to her father. Her father kind of has the same desire. She doesn't really know that. It's kind of more a subconscious thing that kind of affects her. But we can obviously see that Valentinus does have an effect on his daughter. He's not completely powerless like he feels he is, which kind of makes it a little more tragic later on, Gunn smiles as he sees Vitosia looking all around the view, and she says, "It's too busy most of the time, and that's probably the only time I'm going to get." There's still obviously a childlike aspect to her, which does get a little overshadowed later in chapter 3, but it's definitely here. She's not just an evil, cruel little girl, right? She's a flawed person like everybody else. Such clearly gather. Here we can see the main event, the Union Saints Ministry. First time we're alluding to it. I don't know what the word would be for that. Illusion is a different word. Whatever. Gunn tells Vitosia that he heard a real angel came from the diplomats. Here we have first mention of Peter here. Peter the Bladed Angel, already setting up his kind of martyr mythic presence, like an angel, not a person, not like a representative, but an angel has come to their country. That's the kind of vibe we're going for with Peter right now. That he's never seen an angel. And he says one that's helping to lead the ministry and help the Union. Right here we kind of see the presumptions already, the kind of deception that Elias and Delphus have kind of fabricated around Peter's identity, his personhood, how people perceive him. They're already saying, well, he's in the Union, he's helping the Union. He took over the ministry, he got rid of the bad guys in the ministry. He's the good guy. We're framing Peter as the savior. He wants to be seen as the savior. Because if he's not seen as the savior, then nobody is going to follow him into a world war, You can't go to war if the leader sucks dick. That's all I gotta say. Vitosia Sniggins says no angel wanted anything to do with the Crevulus. We see her kind of doubt. We see the contrasting views on Peter, on the Bladed Angel, and the current Saints ministry. Right? There's a lot of drama around that. A lot of contrast with how people are reacting and seeing it. Right? She's kind of a more, the Maginot family, a lot more stiff, a lot more stern. They're not as easy to kind of just buy into this more feverish, rebellious wave that is the New Saints ministry. She then says Here we get more mention of the Holy Vicar, that being Cain. We're setting up the supreme leader, basically, right? That's all, explaining it pretty much. She says she can't let some dumb union distract them from their real jobs, prospering economy, giving prosperity to Migrani and doing whatever it takes to ensure the holiness of the nation. We get to see more of, it's not jagged. I can't remember the word. Excuse me. Don't have everything else with her, not wanting to create an argument that would ruin the moment. Trying to get a view of the event. Here we get, he gets a good view of the bladed angel right here. We kind of get, this is kind of obvious. I mean, it's a free moment, right? Some of the stuff is insanely intuitive, right? This is a good moment, unease. This guy is not an angel. This guy feels off. I'm not liking the energy he's giving to me. I'm not feeling this. Like, my eyes switching, my chest feels all weird. Angels shouldn't make you feel like that. Angels are supposed to make you feel feverish, worshipy, wanting to praise God. He doesn't want to praise God right now. He just wants to get out of here. He's uncomfortable. Devils, if you're beautiful to deceive. Yep, we got a little, metaphor here. This is kind of him referring to his feeling. He's like, this feels wrong. Demons appear beautiful to trick people. This guy is shining. He's like a literal glowing angel. That kind of fits the mold. Somewhere on his heart. Yep, of course she has, right? She is smart. She is kind of rigid. Rigid is the word, I suppose. That is chapter 1. And yeah, as you can see, chapter 2 is a lot bigger, a lot longer, a whole lot more content to cover in chapter 2. Introduction to the Verwandler family. It's very important. Big family. Lots of content. Lots of stuff going on. Chapter 1 is it's more simple. Obviously, it's kind of run-of-the-mill setup. It's not run-of-the-mill in the way that I kind of present it. It's very unique in its visual identity. I'm very happy with its visual identity. With the kind of, we do a lot of stuff here. We establish the setting, we establish the vicar, the union, the saints ministry, the present family conflicts, the differences, the royal bloodline setup. It's a lot of heavy lifting here. It's a lot of very vital content you really need in order to understand everything. So I'm very happy with it. It's short, it's simple. There's a lot of room to change stuff here. Of course, when I write it, just expand, not change, more expand stuff. My outlines aren't super simplistic. They're more kind of like most outlines. Let's say you're kind of on a road, and there's only small chunks of concrete every 50 feet, and you kind of just go with the concrete chunks. But mine is kind of more. It's all filled in. All the concrete is there. It's just kind of the yellow lines. You fill the yellow lines, and you kind of. But you still follow it. You know where the road's going. You kind of know what's going to happen. You can put stuff on the road. You can put party balloons on the road. You can drive your car on the road. That is what my outlines usually are like. That's how I do my outlines. Plus, one of the most enjoyable parts of the writing process for me is actually creating the stories, creating new content, new settings, new arcs. That's what I enjoy the most. At least right now. I love my kind of outlines. Very long outlines, lots of in-depth content. Plus, I just do that because I want to kind of keep the quality intact. Right? I don't want to lose anything in translation. The thing is, I can't remember everything. This is the 4th book, guys. 4 books. I have 4 full. It's not full. 4 full books, but it's almost over 300,000 words easily of content. A lot of which is very, very vital. I have to remember it. In order for the story to work, in order for the arcs to work. So that's why, I prefer to just write almost everything down, too. All the arc information and everything, because I don't want to forget it, right? Not to toot my own horn, but I feel like I come up with pretty good ideas sometimes. I don't want to lose those ideas by kind of just being I'll trust myself to remember it. Writer tip, you will not remember it. You are not going to remember it. You will need to write it down. Please write it down. I'm begging you, write it down. You don't want to lose that information. So, Yeah. It's very dense, very good, very good. I'm very happy with it right now. We got a lot more to go. It's only 7 chapters in. 7 chapters are completely outlined. The chapter 7 outline is like 4,000 words. I'm probably going to have to, when I actually write it, I'm going to have to split that up into 2 chapters. That's going to be like 10,000 words. Very chunky, but very rich. Rich and chunky. It's like rich, chunky chocolate. Okay? Anyway, that is the chapter 1 recap. I'm a little too tired right now. I don't have the passion to do the same kind of in-depth explanation for chapter 2, so we're going to end on chapter 1. I will make another video for chapter 2 eventually, maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day, maybe in a month. Who knows? Thank you for watching. This was the explanation of the first outline for book 4, or the first chapter, you know. Anyway, thank you for watching. Peace and love.